Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Burke County Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting for Tuesday, May 7th, 2024. I'd like to call our meeting to order and ask you to silence your mobile devices at this time. And remind all of you who will be coming to the lectern to speak today, be sure to press the button, have the red light on the microphone so we can hear you and get a good recording as well. Madam Clerk, all commissioners are present, along with our manager, our finance officer, and Mr. Attorney. Okay. Have several presentations, but first we're going to approve the agenda. I'd like the gentlemen to make just a couple adjustments to the agenda today to accommodate some folks who have some scheduling conflicts. I'd like to move action item number 9 to follow presentation item number 2. They are related. And then also move consent items 15 and 16 up to be the first items under consent. So with those adjustments, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Those in favor signify by uplifting the hand. That's all of us, Madam Clerk.
We all do left hands.
Do whatever hand you want to, Mr. Burns. Presentations, as per the month. This will be presented by Caitlin Settlemeyer. Caitlin. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Caitlin will be here at your regular meeting to present the pet of the month.
All right. Thank you. Any questions on this item? See and hear none. That item will remain on the items for presentation. Second item comes from our Board of Commissioners presentation opposing Charlotte's water transfer request from the Catawba River. And this is going to be presented by Anthony Starr, our Executive Director with the Western Piedmont Council of Governments. I know perhaps many of you have already heard some of this information on the news. If you've been watching the news, it's been creating a bit of a local stir. And so, Anthony, if you'll give us some highlights of what's happening here.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, for inviting me to come speak to you about this important matter. It is something that I've had quite a few conversations with our local governments in our region about our Catawba River and its precious resource and how it is so important to the vitality of our future and our economic development and our well-being as a region. So a little bit of what is happening. So the City of Charlotte Water Utility System filed a notice of its intent to increase a water transfer, interbasin transfer from 33 million gallons a day to an undetermined number at some point. Now, the published notice that they put out did not cite a specific number, but we were able to obtain information from the Department of Environmental Quality that indicates they plan to increase from 33 million gallons a day withdrawal to 63 million gallons per day. Now, what is an interbasin transfer? An interbasin transfer is where a utility system such as Charlotte pulls water out of, say, the Catawba River, and then where it discharges that water or uses that water is outside of the Catawba River Basin. In this case, the Rocky River Basin, which is part of the Yadkin-Petey River Basin. And that includes the western portion of Mecklenburg County, eastern portion of Mecklenburg County and goes further east. Now, it does not include an interbasin transfer, these numbers that we talk about do not include the regular daily withdrawals that the City of Charlotte or other utility providers make out of the Catawba. So if they pull water out of the Catawba River, use it, and then the wastewater treatment plant puts that water back in the Catawba River, that is not included in the numbers, right? So set that part of the usage aside. This is just the part that gets transferred out of the river basin and doesn't return to the Catawba River Basin. So interbasin transfers, or IBTs, are regulated and approved by the state through the Environmental Management Commission. And that's housed within the Department of Environmental Quality. In 2002, Charlotte received its current certificate to transfer 33 million gallons per day from the Catawba River to the Rocky River Basin. Then in 2005, Concord and Kannapolis requested 36 million gallons per day transfer from the Catawba River Basin to the Rocky River Basin on top of what Charlotte's certificate was. That compromise, that resulted in a lot of action and debate. There were state laws changed, there was lawsuits filed, and a compromise was approved later that decade, 2007-2010 timeframe, between North Carolina and South Carolina, that allows for them to take out 10 million gallons per day from the Catawba River and transfer it to the Rocky River Basin as part of Concord Kannapolis. In that case, this is the last water they use. They have to use water from their own basin first. But that number gets reduced during drought. And so the context of that is that debate occurred when we were in severe drought during that time frame. As you all may remember, 15 years or so ago, we had a couple of lengthy droughts in our area. And in fact, the water levels got quite so low along our lakes, from Lake James all the way to Lake Norman and Lake Wiley, that a lot of water intake systems were close to not being below the water level, or the surface of the water. And of course, when that happens, a municipal water system cannot pull water out without taking other drastic measures. So obviously, the local governments in our region are concerned about the negative impacts of Charlotte's request to transfer additional water from the Catawba River Basin into the Rocky River. Like all rivers, our river is a limited resource, and we've not had the water wars that you read about out west in the western United States, but we have much more plentiful water here in the eastern U.S., but that doesn't mean it's an unlimited resource. And so, we're not sure what the practical implications are of this down the line. And we're concerned that the proposed transfer will limit the amount of water available for our local governments, even though we're upstream. You might say, well, why are we concerned we're upstream from Charlotte? Well, we're concerned from a regulatory standpoint is if Charlotte is approved for more and more transfers and withdrawals out of the Catawba River, at some point some regulatory agency may say, you know what, Morganton or Valdez or Hickory, you're not allowed to withdraw any more water. We're not going to approve your next request because we've already promised a certain amount of flow to the city of Charlotte and other cities downstream. And so that could limit not only our needs for our residents, but our future economic growth opportunities as a result, because we won't be able to serve industry, and it could have lots of impacts in our possibilities in our future. And we might not be talking about problems in the next couple of years. This might be 10 years, 20 years, the next generation down the road. But I think it's important for us as a region to be cognizant of these impacts and protect our future and our children's future for our region. So there's also a Catawba Watery Management Group that was formed as part of the relicensing process that Duke Energy underwent for its use of the Catawba River a number of years ago. And its aim is to coordinate resources and make plans within the river basin. But Charlotte only recently notified or informed the Catawba Watery Management Group of its intentions regarding this very large IBT increase. And that Water Resource Management Group is actively working on its water supply master plan for the entire basin. And it might be prudent for Charlotte to wait until that process is complete, because when it completed its last water supply plan, those projections showed that the current IBT approval certificate that Charlotte had would be sufficient through the year 2065. But yet they're requesting an increase already, some 30 years in advance, or 40 years in advance. So we're also concerned about the negative impact of water pollutant concentrations with an IBT of this magnitude. So you can think about the pollutants that come into our rivers. We talk about these things on a semi-frequent basis, and not just the health of the river and the health of the ecosystem, but it also has a cost on our local governments and the water treatment that we provide. So if the water is dirtier, or it's dirtier downstream, we're going to be required to take additional steps to treat the water to make it clean or cleaner as part of our processing, whether it's processing the drinking water or the wastewater. And so that could not only affect those that are downstream, but those that are upstream if additional regulations are applied. And the more water you pour out of a river, the greater the concentrations are of those pollutants that are left behind. And so that's what our concern is, I think no one's against Charlotte growing. We want to see Charlotte be successful. As a matter of fact, Charlotte's success provides some success to our region as an extension there. Our proximity to it is beneficial to us. But I think they should take appropriate measures to provide for their growth without taking away our future growth in the resource that we have in the Catawba River. So what is happening now? Charlotte is following the prescribed process under state law, and so their first step is to take public input on a proposed increase, and they're having a meeting in Hickory at the Ridgeview Library, branch library in Hickory on Wednesday, and that, or tomorrow, I guess. And so they'll take public input there. They've got other public input meetings scheduled on, if you look at the Charlotte Water's website. And then after they finish that public input, they will do an environmental impact study. And then that's where the Environmental Management Commission will hold a hearing and decide and start its process about what it will choose to approve or not approve. It's a quasi-judicial process. So it'll be a little bit more stringent than just regular public input at that point. But so at this point, we're just helping our local governments understand what the issues are that are in play here, what the potential ramifications are, and coordinating the conversations amongst our local governments on how you collectively want to proceed. So I'll stop there and see what questions you may have of me about it.
All right, thank you, Anthony. Any questions for Anthony on this item?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. There's not one good thing in what you just said, not one. And Duke Power's been extremely quiet about what they want to do, because when Duke drops that, everybody knows when they drop Lake James, my pontoon's been sitting in the mud up there before when they drop it during droughts. So there's not one good thing about what's transpiring here. It wasn't good in the first IBT, and it's not good in the second IBT request.
Anthony, along the chain, is there anybody that would be for this? Like Johnny said, we know it's a horrible idea. Besides Mecklenburg County, of course, they can be the bull in the pulpit, so to speak, because of size. Then it seems to, once again, kind of hit rural versus urban. And, not that we have a chip on our shoulder, but on the other hand, we kind of do sometimes, because we do feel we end up at the short end of the stick. So, is this, we were able to, come to a compromise last time. What's the jeopardy this time? Do we feel that we will be heard and this can be stopped, or is this going to be another compromise? Or is it too early to say and I'll put you on the spot?
Yeah, so your first question about who else would be for it, I'm not sure, other than the municipalities that are served by the City of Charlotte water system, right? I've spoken with my counterpart in South Carolina, in the Rock Hill region, and of course they're having conversations, and I've got a pretty good indication they've got concerns too, because they're downstream. And frankly, as I understand it, Lake Wiley is the most susceptible lake along the system to drought conditions. And to your latter question was, touch on it again, was
Well, kind of like urban versus rural again, because sometimes we do feel we get the short end of the stick, and we came to a compromise, and is that
what's
what
our
you
prospects and everything? Yeah. So I think the difference is in this time around compared to last time around is the state law's been changed. Last time our local governments came together and we hired, specialized attorneys, an engineering firm that specialized in this, lobbyists to get the state law changed. And now that law was changed. So there's a prescribed process that is more definitive than there was last time. But we don't know what that looks like, because we haven't went through that process. And we're trying to look for examples of others in North Carolina have went through that process since the last interbasin transfer for us. But we don't really, I can't tell you that I have a clear understanding of what our prospects are, nor Charlotte's willingness to compromise. And I'm not particularly encouraged at this point because there's been so little communication from Charlotte to any of the other stakeholders in the Catawba River Basin at this point. So I don't know if that means they think this part of the process should start first and then they'll discuss things, or they're just not interested in discussing things. That's not clear to me.
So just for clarity, since that law was changed, there's been no transfer disputes
In our basin,
in our basin.
yeah, there have been in other parts of the state.
They have been other places across the state, and what was the result?
I don't know yet. We are so
Okay.
early in this process.
Okay, just,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
I mean, and for the benefit of the public, we literally got notice from the city of Charlotte water system just a few weeks ago. So we're less than a month into these conversations about this at this point. And so we'll be reaching out to some of our counterparts across the state to find out where the other IVTs occurred, were they contentious or not, and what were the circumstances, what were the factors that the EMC looked at. And so if necessary, and we collectively have to hire, legal representation for this, then that's the sort of thing as they can bring to bear that expertise and that experience to guide us on those sorts of things.
This new EMC has not been in existence too awfully long, has it?
The EMC's been around a while, but its role in this was I guess, newer with the legislation that passed 10, 15 years ago, or 15
Is this
years
the
ago.
old SWIA board?
I'm sorry?
Is EMC, what was the old SWIA board, State Water Infrastructure?
No, I think that's different. I
Okay.
think they're different things. The EMC is a regulatory board, and the State Water Infrastructure approves some
Gotcha,
grants.
okay.
So the EMC EMC has jurisdiction over some other environmental matters too besides this. But I know that the appointment of the EMC has been changing with some acts by the legislature and some lawsuits there, but so the composition of it probably has changed in recent.
So would it be advantageous for us to get a hold of those members?
I'm not clear yet on whether we should or not, and that's a great question, Commissioner Carswell. What makes me hesitate on that is that I'm told this is a quasi-judicial process, and if you remember when you go through that as a local government, they're not supposed to have ex parte communications ahead of the hearing on that. So I don't know exactly what they're allowed to do in terms of communications, but I think part of the conversation will be around this as we get into this is like, are there deficiencies in the state law that we need to get changes enacted? And so we're just now getting into that, looking at that, and that's something we'll be talking to the local legislators about if we think there's something that's in our interest to do so.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Anthony?
Just a quick comment. Yeah, I like Commissioner Carswell and not in favor of this. I like Commissioner Carswell and Molly, from what I understood from his comments, are not in favor of this. While we were talking, I just pulled up lake levels, targets, and actuals. If you look at Lake James, 100% being full pond, it's actually at 99. The target's 98. We had a lot of rain last night, so if I look on down the chain and I get to Lake Norman, it's 97.7. Their target is 97.5. So I understand some of this water is going to be moving down. Their minimum is 95. And when you look at the minimums and you think about what happened just a few years ago, we're not only jeopardizing drinking water, we're jeopardizing power generation, recreation. See, Ed Phillips with us here tonight. I have gone several times in my life to the lake to put my boat in and have a little fun, only for the ramp to be closed because water levels are so low. And I just don't think we can afford to do that when we need economic growth and development in the western part of this Catawba River Basin.
Other questions for Anthony? All right, hearing none, we'll accept this report as presented. Do I hear a motion?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Those in favor signify by lifting hand. That's all of us. This will bring us to action item number 9. We've moved up just to follow this item. And call your attention to that item at this time. This is a resolution opposing Charlotte's water transfer request from the Catawba River Basin. And that resolution is in your package, and you've had an opportunity to take a look at it. Any questions on this resolution?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adopt resolution number 2024-09.
Thank you, Commissioner Carswell. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. That's 5-0. All right, thank you very much. That'll bring us back to presentation items number 3, proclamation celebrating Robert. Madam Clerk, can you help me with the pronunciation of that? Do you know? Hewitt? Is it Hewitt? On his 100th birthday, and we'll be recognizing Mr. Hewitt at our regular meeting. Do you know whether or not he might be able to attend? Hoping he will? Okay, very good. All right. So without objection, this item will remain. Any question about this item? All right, this item will remain on our agenda. Item number 4, presentation Brighter House, proclamation declaring May as Mental Health Awareness Month. This is going to be presented by Stephen. Thank you very much. Executive Director of Brighter House, and Sherry and Eddie McGimpsey. Good to see y'all today. Stephen, tell us what you got.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is Stephen Severai-Muthu, and I'm the proud Executive Director of Brighter House, a new Morganton-based psychosocial rehabilitation program for adults with severe and persistent mental illnesses. Today, I'm honored to stand before you to propose a proclamation that holds profound significance for our community, Mental Health Awareness Month. Mental health affects us all, directly or indirectly. It impacts our families, our friends, our colleagues, and our neighbors, yet it is often overlooked and shrouded in stigma. By declaring May as Mental Health Awareness Month in Burke County, we not only recognize the importance of mental well-being, but also affirm our commitment to addressing the challenges faced by those struggling with mental health issues. This proclamation is more than just words on a paper. It is a pledge to take action. It is a promise to destigmatize mental illness, promote awareness, and provide support to those in need. Through education, advocacy, and community engagement, we can create an environment where individuals feel empowered to seek help and where no one suffers in silence. As leaders in our community, it is our responsibility to ensure that mental health receives attention and resources it deserves. By coming together to support this proclamation, we send a powerful message that mental health is not a taboo subject, but a fundamental aspect of overall well-being. Let us seize this opportunity to unite in our efforts to build a healthier, more resilient community. Together, we can make a difference in the lives of countless individuals and families who are struggling with mental health challenges. I humbly urge each of you to join me in supporting this proclamation as we strive to create a county where everyone has the opportunity to thrive mentally, emotionally, and physically. Thank you for your attention and your consideration.
All right, thank you, sir. We certainly appreciate the work that the Brighter House is doing and the work that the Gypsies are doing in this area. Gentlemen, you've had this proclamation in front of you. Any questions about the proclamation?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a comment, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to go to the last whereas in that proclamation where it says that it is our collective responsibility to champion mental health awareness and advocate for policies and initiatives that prioritize mental health care, equity, and accessibility to all members of the community. There's no two stronger proponents of that than those two husband and wife sitting out there in that audience, along with, I'd like to put myself in that same category. I don't know that I've worked hard or as hard as these two have, but Sherry and Eddie are the epitome of what it is to bring something forth to the community like mental health awareness, and my heart goes out to those two for everything that they've suffered through their lives and the things that I have suffered, me and Brenda have suffered through our life. I just wanted to recognize them at this particular moment for that.
Thank you, Mr. Cardwell. Any other questions, comments on this item? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on the presentation agenda without objection. Thank you very much. Item number 5, this comes from Chamber of Commerce, recognition of winners from Chamber's Spring Litter Sweep, presented by Tanya Stevenson. I don't think I see Tanya today, but I'm sure we can count on Tanya to be here at our regular meeting. Madam Clerk, any comment on that?
I just learned that Tanya is in Raleigh today, but will be here at our regular meeting to recognize the winner of the Chamber's Litter Sweep pickup contest.
All right, thank you very much, and the board certainly appreciates all the work the Chamber's done in relation to litter cleanup in our county, and we all appreciate that effort. Without objection, any concerns on this item or questions? Without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. This brings us to item number 6, TDA, financial update for the period ending March 31, 2024. This will be presented by our Tourism Development CEO, Ed. Afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. So I left a very busy visitor center a while ago to come over here, and I just want to, before I get into the numbers, I just want to share a couple of things with you. When we moved up there, we had no idea how many visitors were going to come through those doors. And, you know, we'd hoped it'd be more, of course, and we have been overwhelmed with visitors from all over the country for all kinds of reasons. And January through March, this first quarter, we tallied up all the visitors, and we keep a log book, and we count every single person that comes through the door, why they're there, what they're doing, and their reason, and where they're from. We don't count the mailman, and we don't count the UPS driver and those service people like that. But January through March, we were up 82% from a year ago when we were down with the chamber in that building. The street traffic, the people walking in, is incredible. Coming in from the hotel, just people wandering around downtown. And we're able to interact with those people and share and tell them about the rest of Burke County and all the fun other things to do. I had people in today who were camping out at Patty's Creek, the private campground that's out there. They stay the whole summer from Charleston, South Carolina, so it's like a second home kind of thing for them. Wisconsin, Ohio today, I'm just going back in my mind because I've been working by myself there today because I had got one on maternity leave and another one out on vacation, so I had a volunteer cover me while I'm over here this afternoon. So statistically, we're up 82% in the first quarter. The second quarter's already really strong. We were open Saturday. We had over 20 visitors Saturday, which was really good. You know, sometimes it's weather dependent. If it's nice, people come in. If it's raining, not so much. But I also want to share with you the number of vacation rentals in Burke County. So we track that, and we go back and we look online and call people, and we try to find every single vacation rental there is in Burke County. And I have a spreadsheet, a list of all of them. And a month ago, I counted 198. And that's the highest number I've ever been able to physically count. And that's spread all over Burke County, from eastern Burke County to Lake James, Ginger Cake, South Mountains, Conley Springs, Valdez. They're literally everywhere. And so that number being what it is, and the number of beds inside of 198 vacation rentals, a lot of whom this summer are already booked. Lake James Vacation Rentals, all theirs are completely booked for the summer. And so what's happened is our occupancy tax collections are not just the hotels anymore as a large number. So just about every month, our vacation rentals account for about 35 to 37% of the occupancy tax collected. And Margaret breaks that down for me to look at the total number and then how many are from hotels. So just a few little things that are noteworthy today, and I won't keep you much longer, but I also want to tell you that our occupancy tax, and you can see our balance sheet up here, and then we also have a profit and loss, but our occupancy tax collections to date, which is through March 31st, are almost flat. So we had tremendous growth 22, tremendous growth in 2023 early. Now we're kind of back to normal. So we've had all this growth in revenue and occupancy tax revenue, and right now we're about flat. Going into the next fiscal budget, starting July 1, we're going to keep our budget flat for what it is today, this fiscal year. That's my proposal anyway, it hadn't been voted on yet. Tell you just real quickly, a couple of things. So we've started getting some national beauty pageants and dance competitions here. Like national, what do you mean national? So yes, these people are flying here from all over the United States, paying a lot of money for their children to be involved in beauty pageants and dance competitions here in Burke County. And I've never seen this before at a level like this. But what's happened is a lot of the venues in other places, it's all about the venue, it's all about the date, the cost, and then how do they get here? And these people were flying into Charlotte and Asheville, literally from all over the United States. We just had one last weekend at Comma. So there's been 2 this spring that have been here. So destination weddings continue to be large. Business travel is strong. North Carolina School of Science and Math, their events are bringing people in. We actually did a survey of those folks, the parents, to find out where they were staying. Are they eating here? And you got to remember, not all of the School of Science and Math kids come from far away. Some of them come from West North Carolina. It's just an hour or 2 drive to get home. So they don't all stay here. But it's still an asset, a tremendous asset for us. So that's pretty much the report.
All right, thank you, Ed. Any questions for Ed on his report?
Mr. Chairman, I just have one comment. I had an opportunity to go back by and visit again last week, and I can tell you, having been born and raised in Burke County and honestly thought I knew every nick and cranny, every time I walk into that place, I learn something new. So I would encourage everybody in the room and everybody that's watching at home, pay these folks a visit. I mean, it's a tremendous environment when you walk in. I've walked in 3 times in a row, and every time I've just said, wow, when I walk through the door. So everybody check it out.
All right, thank you. All right, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. Thank you, Ed. Have no scheduled public hearings this month. This will bring us then to item 5, consent agenda, and we'll move items 15 and 16 from our tax department up at this time. And we'll hear the tax collection report for April 2024. This will be presented by John Bridges, our tax administrator. Afternoon, John.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Appreciate you all moving me up on the schedule. We are 3 of us from the tax office are going to Asheville for supper on the dollar of Farragut, which is our software vendor. So as much money as we give them, we're going to eat our fill tonight. So for the April tax collections, property tax for the year from July 1, 2023 through April 30th, 2024, we have collected $52,851,327.69. That is 100.29% of the budget amount, with $151,750.69 over what we were budgeted, which is good. Motor vehicle tax, we have collected $4,566,640.84, which is 73.66% of the budgeted amount, leaving us a balance to collect of $1,633,359.16. For current year taxes, we have collected $57,417,968.53. That is 97.48% of the budget amount, leaving us a balance to collect of $1,481,608.47. Delinquent taxes, we have collected $602,723.47. That's 88.1% of the budget amount, leaving us a balance to collect of $97,276.53. penalty and interest, we have collected $390,479.53, which is 118%, 118.69% of the budget amount, being $61,479.63 over what we thought we would collect. For the tax levy, we have collected $52,851,327.69. That's 98.19% of the budget amount, or of that amount, and we have balance to collect $976,855.63.
All right, thank you, John. Gentlemen, any question on the tax collection report for April 2024?
John, just for clarity's sake, on the property tax, a 98.19 tax levy, and then property tax up at the top, 100.29, very top line. Just explain the difference in that, please.
What's the question again?
The $52,699,000, that top line, the property tax, percent collected 100.29, and then down here, the tax levy overall at 98.19. Can you just tell us what that difference is?
I had to sharpen my pencil on that one.
It's basically what's the difference between the tax levy and the budget?
Yes, right.
The levy changes every month based on discoveries and releases and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Then one other quick question.
So the property tax, what we budgeted was that top figure, the $52,699,000 figure, and then this down here at the bottom, that changes every month based on what we've discovered and what we've released.
Sure, so that does change, okay. That answers the question. Then what would you account for the different, because when people look at these numbers and say, man, how did you collect 118.69% of penalty interest, which y'all are doing a great job, by the way. That's hitting 100% right there, more than 100%. But what do you account for our ability to collect that much?
We have some tough people working, and we're beating the bushes and looking under rocks to get these taxes, because that's hard to get. Some of that, a lot of it is that those delinquent taxes are people who've moved away, people who've passed away, business gone out of business, and you're just not going to get that.
Sure.
Or it's abandoned property, such as mobile homes or boats or whatever it may be. So I've got some really good folks working in the tax office that they are really going after making sure. And we're doing enforced collections through delinquency, bank attachments, garnishments, that type of stuff.
Thank you, good job. Thank you, John.
Other questions? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Thank you very much, John.
For the refund and releases, total report amount is $37,036.97. Of that, we rebilled $15,253.21 with a net release of $21,783.76, and there were no refunds. For the motor vehicle tax system refunds over $100, the total was $1,563.80.
All right, thank you, John. Gentlemen, you've got that report in front of you. Any questions for John on the tax release refund report? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. John, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that'll bring us back around to the item number 1 on the consent agenda. Now, this item is the presentation of financial data for the period ending March 31, 2024. And I understand that Mr. Lawson is not feeling well this afternoon. That report is in your package. Any question that we need to relay from anybody to Mr. Lawson? I'm sure we can do that. He'll be glad to answer later. All right, seeing here none, this item will remain. Mr. Manager, any comments you want to make on that?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Item number 2, Western Piedmont Community College presentation of financial data for the period ending March 31, 2024. This will be presented by Sandy Holman. Afternoon, Sandy.
Let me make sure I'm on here. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here today. I'm going to give a brief summary of our finances through March 31st, 2024, through the third quarter of our fiscal year. And first, we'll look at our state funds through March 31st. We have a total budget of $16,668,171, and we have expended 72.1% through this point of the year, the third quarter. Under the next 3 columns is the county budget, which is $2,905,704, and I did not plan this, but we have expended 72.1% through the third quarter. It's probably the only time that will happen. So we are on track with both our state and county funds through the third quarter of the year. And then institutional, which is all the other funds, our grants, financial aid, bookstore, self-supporting curriculum programs we offer. And that is a budget of $6,145,228, and we have expended 96.3. Again, this is fairly normal through the third quarter of the year because of the financial aid is processed for both fall and spring, which is our largest financial aid disbursements. And if you'll look on the second attachment, which is our breakdown of county expenditures just by category, you'll see inline salaries and benefits are at 28.1%, utilities at 23%, repairs and maintenance at 16.8%, and contracted services at 15.8%. I'll be happy to answer any questions on the finance portion of the presentation.
All right, thank you, Sandy. Any questions for Sandy on this item? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on the consent agenda.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Have
you
a
very
great day.
Item number 3 comes from our clerk, appointments to the Adult Care and Nursing Home Committee. And this, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm very pleased to request the appointments to the Adult Care and Nursing Home Committee. This is a request to appoint Karen Robinson and Diane Patterson to the Adult Care and Nursing Home Committee, seats 1 and 3 respectively, to complete 1-year terms ending May 31st, 2025, and to reappoint Ann Holland to the Adult Care Nursing Home Community CAC program for a 3-year term ending May 31st, 2027. And I would note that Karen and Diane are the first 2 appointees to complete the extensive new training required by the state.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions on this item? Seeing here none, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 4, also coming from the clerk, appointment to LEPC, seat number 16.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is the request to remove Steve Jenkins' name from the LEPC roster and thank him for his service to the community, and to appoint Beth Anderson to the LEPC seat number 16, representing SAFT America, to complete the remainder of the term ending January 31st, 2026.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions on this item? Seeing here none, without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. All right. Item number 5, also coming from the clerk, Board of Adjustments removal. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to remove Tony Yunt's name from the official roster for the Burke County Board of Adjustment and thank him for his service to the community. He resigned.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any question on this item?
We are, soliciting applications, so if you know anybody, please send them my way.
All right, hearing none, without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 6, removal from the Planning Board. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Mr. Dorian Palmer served in seat number 5 on the planning board, but he has also resigned, and this is a request to remove his name from the roster and thank him for his service. Again, we are actively soliciting applications for this seat.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any question on this item? All right, without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 7, residency waiver for the America 250 North Carolina Committee. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to grant an exception to Section 2-88 membership requirements of the Burke County Code of Ordinances for Mr. Hancock. We missed that when we created that committee and appointed him at your last meeting. The technical correction.
All right, any question on this item? Seeing here none, this item will remain on the consent agenda without objection. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Item number 8, community development, locally administered project program, Canal Bridge Sidewalk. This will be presented by Sarah Shubain, our trail specialist. Afternoon, Sarah.
Good afternoon, Mr. Commissioner. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. So this is a resolution of support for a grant application. The Greater Hickory Metropolitan Planning Organization, on behalf of the NC Department of Transportation, has issued a call for projects to agencies in its jurisdiction for the locally administered project program, also known as LAP funding. Burke County proposes to submit an application for the cost of construction for the Canal Bridge Sidewalk project. Starting in March 2021, the county began working with Mattern and Craig Engineering to provide options for a safe pedestrian passage across Canal Bridge. It would be a 480-foot linear foot sidewalk, which is about 5 feet in width, across the deck of the existing bridge. This is a crucial connection between Lake James State Park parcels, which is a co-location of the Fauna Flora and Over Mountain Victory State Trails. This will also include a crosswalk from 126 to a future trailhead. So in November 2023, NCDOT approved the proposed plan and provided revised feedback to the engineering firm. We now have a project cost estimate to be about $887,500, which encompasses an administrative component designated for NCDOT to oversee the project management. A 20% local cash match is required for the grant conditions. Both the Friends of Fauna Flora State Trail and Over Mountain Victory North Carolina State Trail Friends groups have pledged to cover the $177,500 required local match. Additionally, the county has already covered the expenses for the engineering study and construction documents. That's about $100,000 that we've already paid into that. The grant application window closed on April 30th, and staff submitted an initial application as a placeholder that will be followed up with a formal Board of Commission resolution support should this agenda item be approved. Once the applications have been scored, the projects that have been approved will be notified in July, followed by a public comment period. We still remain on track for this project to begin, initiated in 2024, fall 2024. This is the first LAP proposal since the pandemic that resulted in an NCDOT funding crisis, but it is now getting back on track. I've got some visuals in there as well, if that is of any help, just to kind of clarify on some of that budgetary information as well. So the total cost of construction is $710,000. That has a required 25% contingency from the Greater Hickory MPO for that application. Then it has the inclusion of the 25% administrative costs from DOT to manage that project. So that's how our total budget gets to $887,500 plus that required match by partners. We've also got a visual on there as well, just to kind of help clarify. Yep, there we go. That's really quite hard to see. But where the mouse is it shows that we're planning to remove the solid cement wall that's currently there. It'll be replaced by a 3-tiered system. The sidewalk will be built on top of that for pedestrians to be able to cross over. So this will be leading from existing trail in State Park. Once this safe passage is built, it will then connect to, again, that future trailhead. And once safe passage is in place, the state park will be able to begin initiating trail on the other side of that. So we can see on the other side, so it'll cross 126 towards the public boat ramp side. Any questions on this resolution of support for grant application?
So on the right-hand side of the bridge, there'll be a three-tiered structure
3-tiered structure.
with a fence beside the top.
It'll be a 3 railing system.
Three routing systems, okay.
And I just want to make a comment too, you know, I know the three of us have been on here for quite a while. We've been waiting for this one little segment for a lot of years, through no fault of your own, obviously, or anybody prior to you. It's just taken a lot of time and effort to get this to where we're actually going to get to see it come to fruition. So I just want to say thank you to see this come to realization.
Yeah, we're excited. Thank you.
So Sarah, is the sidewalk at the same level as the roadway?
So it's raised.
It's raised.
It's raised and curved. And it's 5 feet in width.
Raised and walk
Curved, it's got a curve on it
towards the lake or towards the road?
towards the road.
Then there's a railing between the road and the pedestrians?
No.
No.
But there's a new railing on the outside lane of the bridge.
Okay, I see.
It's not completely separated from traffic. So bicyclists will have to dismount and walk across for safety.
And so what will happen coming back later on the other side?
Nope, it's only on one side of the
Just
bridge.
The right-hand side going?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions?
That's where in high school, everybody used to jump off the bridge, so this gives, so we're not putting a diving board or anything there.
No.
Just for safety's sake.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's the brightest thing to do in the world. It happened.
Like the seats. Yeah. Other questions? All right. Thank you very much, sir. Without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 9 comes from the county manager, approval of budget amendment number 12 for scale server upgrades. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. From an organizational IT infrastructure perspective, we are in the process of changing vendors and replacing our scale servers, which are a critical component and foundation of our infrastructure. Doing so, immediate return is $70,000 per year. We expect that to grow over time, primarily because of our current vendors' cost escalation. So we have prepared a budget amendment for consideration to budget a new revenue source for over anticipated interest revenue and offsetting that with the equipment. I would point out that a portion of this, about $119,000 of this, is paid for from a 911 state grant. Annually, we get $911 from the State PSAP Board, and this is a compliant cost to replace that scale server. So roughly $241,000 will be paid for from over received and earned interest, and the other $119,000 will be paid for from 911 state grant dollars. We'd like to get that started this year so we can start receiving those cost reductions in next year's budget.
Thank you, sir. Any questions on this item? So I guess it's safe to say this is all IT computer type equipment.
The server, yeah, it's the brains of what makes everything work. Yes, sir.
All right. Without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Thank you, sir. Next item, number 10, also from the manager, approval of budget amendment number 13. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, very similarly, we have some new revenue sources. These are not new to us, all directed SCIF grants from the North Carolina General Assembly. 3 distinct purposes. The first one is $100,000 for a Tech 84 scanner that's in the detention center. Then we have a $200,000, and the board's familiar with each of these funding sources because they were awarded in last year's budget, but just now the funds are just now flowing. The second component is $200,000 designation in our water sewer fund. We're going to use that to replace exceptionally aged meters. And then the final component is $2,000 that will be used for digitization and record preservation in our Register of Deeds office. So all of that's state funded, but those are the 3 components that we would like to budget to begin those projects.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any question on this item?
Technology services are part of SCIF or did I miss that somewhere along the way?
Well, the $2,000 is his SCIF, and it's the technology services is for the scanning components to help.
It is authorized.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir. It was included in our scope of service that we have to turn into OSMB.
Okay.
Other question or comment? All right, hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda without objection. Item number 11, this comes DSS, approval of Northwoods Consulting Partners contract. This will be presented by Hugh Sando. Afternoon, Hugh.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Board. As we continue to work through implementation of software management in DSS, one of the things that we included in this year's budget is a transition to a new Northwoods document management software. As you can imagine, there's a tremendous amount of information that flows through adult services, child services, and economic services over in the DSS department. And the software that we're currently using is actually in the process of being phased out. And so in this current year budget, we included funding to move to a new software that's actually offered by the same vendor called Northwoods Compass Software. And so the motion here is to approve that contract for those services.
All right, thank you. Any questions on this item?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got 3 questions for you, Hugh. Number 1, I want to know how we picked Northwoods. Number 2, I understand the one-time transitional cost, but is there a yearly cost to use the product? And if there is a yearly cost to use the product, where's the money coming from?
There is an annual cost associated with the product. It's a 3-year contract that we're entering into. Our initial term next year is going to be $174,000 approximately for this contract. A large portion of counties use this same software, and it's actually the one that's authorized and approved by the state, and it has a number of features that will streamline workflow, such as automating as the state comes out with a new form. That form is automatically integrated in the software, so it cuts down on staff time. So it was really the recommendation to move to this current system, just because it's the same vendor we've had, and we felt like it's the best product for our staff.
And where's the money coming from for the yearly fees?
It's budgeted out of software and contracted services in DSS.
For DS, okay.
Yeah.
I would point out that the new software cost ongoing is the exact same as the previous. There's no change in year-to-year cost. And so by doing this, we're, again, similar to the scale server, we're avoiding duplication of cost by doing it now versus next year and having to pay for both. And really the selection of the software is pretty easy because they only give you a couple of choices that are compliant with NC-FAST and the
They being the state.
Yes, Department of Health and Human Services. It is not a wide array of market options. There's very few that are even approved that integrate with NC-FAST.
Okay, thank you.
Other question or comment? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on consent agenda. Thank you, Hugh. Item number 12 comes from Finance, USDA lease renewal. This will come from our Deputy County Manager Finance Director, Margaret Pierce. Afternoon, Margaret.
Good afternoon, everyone. The U.S. Department of Agriculture rents some space over in the Ag Building on Ammons Drive. They do soil conservation and preservation work there, along with other support to our departments. It is a federal agency operating out of there in conjunction with our offices. The lease was up for renewal, and we did negotiate a small increase with them. None of the spacing will change, and this will just renew the lease.
All right, thank you, Margaret. Any question on this item? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on the consent agenda without objection.
Thank you.
Item number 13 comes from JCPC, approval of county plan for Burke County and funding allocation. This will be presented by A.J. Katu, our administrator. Afternoon, A.J.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, your Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, and its subcommittees have worked this past year to fulfill its obligations to you and the state to complete a number of required tasks. I know I say that every year. And it is quite a list of tasks. As we all know, there's no lack of interest from the state to see that their dollars are spent in a particular way. So they have surveyed the youth-directed programs in the county to determine the existing range of services as well as any gaps in services. They reviewed the data collected by our local court-related folks and the state to determine demographics, risk levels, need levels of the youth coming through the system, and compiled this information into the request for proposals that we publish every year, and vetted the programs responding to make sure they complied with the local and state requirements for serving court-involved youth. In addition, they made on-site monitoring visits to programs being funded. We're very lucky that the programs that we've been funding for a number of years are willing to serve more youth with the same amount of money from the state. Obviously, the programs themselves raise their match or have in kind in some way to make sure that the county itself doesn't have to kick in any money for this. So it's kind of hard to be too anxious about what kind of funding is coming or going. But we sure would appreciate some addition if you have any opportunity to speak to our legislators about that. This has all resulted in the annual funding plan that you have, and they are respectfully offering you this today with the documents that are produced from the annual work attached to the pieces of paper that you have. And I'm willing to answer any questions you might have about any of it.
All right, thank you, AJ. Gentlemen, you've seen this plan. It's an extensive, lengthy plan with all the various summaries and items dealing with this subject. Any questions or concerns?
Thank you for your time and for the consent agenda item.
All right, without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item, okay. Mr. Burns has appointment elsewhere, and we'll excuse him at this time. Item number 14 also comes from JCPC. Come on back, AJ. Don't be running out of here yet.
AJ was out the door, but you better catch her quick.
Boy, she's... We have removal of member seat number 15. This will also be presented by AJ.
We're asking for removal for seat number 15.
I'll jump in here. Brandy has retired, and we're just asking that you remove her name from the JCPC roster and thank her for her service to the committee. She represented the chief district court judge, and at some point in time when they decide who her replacement will be, we'll bring that name to you at a later date.
All right, thank you very much.
The new chief district court judge is waiting for a beat to take her time to familiarize herself with all of the workings of everything before she gives us someone else to fill that position. Oh, and thank you for your proclamation for Bob Hewitt. I'm hoping that some point soon in my traverse of the Greenway in my 70s that I'll be doing as much as he did in his 90s. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any question on this item? Seeing here none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Now, this brings us to item number 6, items for decision. First item comes from our county manager, presentation of recommended budget for fiscal year 24-25 and scheduling of public hearing. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we are annually required by statute, in order to approve the budget in June, I'll be prepared to present at your regular meeting on the 21st, as well as schedule that public hearing for June the 18th, I believe. Staff is in the throes of the budget development process, and we're excited to share that with board members over the next couple of weeks and then present it publicly on the 21st. So I'll let you know. It's similar to last year, an extensive process, and the presentation will be extensive too. So I'll not make you sit through that today with the actual PowerPoint, but happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Any questions on this item? We are anxiously awaiting that time of discussion. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Without objection, this item will remain on the decision agenda. Item number 2 comes from General Services, approval of lease for semi-trucks, contract for refuse trailers, and related budget amendment number 14. This will be presented by Mark Delahunt, our General Services Director. Afternoon, Mark.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I was a little worried. I thought I was going to go through the whole budget before I got to do my thing, but gratefully that'll be next meeting. But as you are aware, in recent years, both our solid waste fund and our water sewer fund have had to be supported with funds from the general fund. I'm glad to say that our water sewer fund is now solvent, and we are implementing plans to do the same in regard to our solid waste fund. This item before you is a huge step in that direction. This investment will allow Burke County to bring in-house services that are now being provided by a for-profit company. Based on the proposed contract between Burke County and Public Services, the difference between us hauling our own waste and paying them to haul it is $20 per ton. Last year, we paid them to haul 65,000 tons. As stated in the summary of information included with this agenda item, we expect this initiative to save Burke County taxpayers $1.2 million. Finally, I'd like to give a big thanks to our county manager and our budget analyst, Hugh Sandow, for helping put this all together. Now, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Mark. Any question on this item? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on the decision agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 3 comes from Community Development Award Contract for Trail Design and Engineering, again presented by Sarah Shabane. Sarah?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Mr. Commissioners. Earlier in the year, we came with some trail updates, which included a plan to undergo a RFQ process for trail design and engineering. We're proud to share that Community Development, in partnership with Friends of Fauna Flora State Trail and Over Mountain Victory North Carolina State Trail, issued that request for qualifications on January 19th this year. We did extend the bid period to March 29th and hosted a required site visit on February 6th, where 10 individuals representing 8 firms attended. The review committee was comprised of representatives from our trail partners as well as 5 county employees. The county committee also reviewed the 2 submissions received from Destination by Design and Alta. Both of these firms were interviewed on April 11th, and they were both highly qualified. The committee has recommended Destination by Design for the project based on their vast experience in trail design, their regional knowledge, and the affiliated engineering firm's success in submitting plans to NCDOT. Again, this request for qualifications was to select a firm to provide design services, most importantly construction documents, for 3 sections of the co-located Fauna Flora and Over Mountain Victory trails, which would involve 3 different sections: repair of 1.75 miles in the 1780 neighborhood, new construction through the Enclave, and new construction through Lake James Family Camping Resort and Marina. Burke County will serve as the primary point of contact with Destination by Design through managing the development of those construction documents and process requests from reimbursement from partners. The partners will provide feedback and relevant documents to the firm and support the county's efforts in engaging local stakeholders through their existing relationships or the development of new ones as needed. The contract is still being finalized. However, we estimate that it is going to be at its baseline approximately $200,000 with estimate of allowances not to exceed $80,000. That $80,000 of allowances include a budget line for things like placemaking, signage, surveying, and additional more complex engineering. The trail partners have committed to contributing to this contract. They're still negotiating that exact amount with their boards, but we are really grateful for their contribution to this. Again, if this is approved, the county's portion will be used from the account, sometimes titled grant match, but it's also the dollars that we were provided from Duke Power for specifically work on the western side of the lake over Mountain Victory that we've been stretching for quite some time. Any questions on this RFQ process and contract?
Any questions for Sarah?
The contract will not go over 250, is that correct?
It could exceed, so 200 would be our baseline, and then up to 80,000 for allowances.
Okay, 80,000.
Yeah. We also are requesting to enter into an MOU with our trail partners once we have that final contribution amount from them.
Sarah, is the 1.75 miles through the 1780 neighborhood, is it currently open?
It is currently open, yes. It is in dire need of repair. It needs a formal crossing across 126. There is no formal designated pedestrian crossing from the state park over to that section of trail. It's got really severe erosion at this point.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Hearing none, this item will remain on the decision agenda.
Thank you.
Item number 4, health opioid, RFQ vendor selection for strategic plan. This item will come from Katie Varnadu, our human services planner. Afternoon, Katie.
Hey, good afternoon. Today I bring before you a recommendation to contract with the Community Education Group for the Collaborative Strategic Planning Project that was approved in the budget resolution in February of this year. So we put that RFP or the RFQ out for bid. Earlier in the year, we received 6 applications from all across the country. And then we developed a review panel of 4 people from the Opioid Settlement Work Group that reviewed and tabulated each one of the bid applications. And the Community Engagement Group scored the highest across the domains of experience, specific expertise in substance use services and treatment, team qualifications, and references. So, and also Tony Young, the executive director for the Community Education Group, actually came and did a site visit, I believe it was January of this year, and was able to be a part of our physician panel with UNC Blue Ridge. She attended that event. So I'm excited to offer that recommendation to you all to contract with the Community Education Group for our collaborative strategic plan development.
All right, thank you. Any question on this item? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on the decision agenda. Thank you very much, Katie. Item number 5, revised resolution directing expenditure of opioid settlement funds for multiple use, and this also comes from Katie.
So this item is just an extension of the dates in the budget resolution that was approved in February, and it extends strategies number 2 and 3 to June 30th of 2025 to match the other 2 strategies.
All right, any question on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I can say, if you allow me, that we visited 32 counties over the last 2 weeks for our district meetings, and 32 counties still really don't know how they want to spend their money because they have not been the leader like we have been here in Burke County with Dr. Varnado, making sure that we got somebody up front that's helping us to understand what, of course, she already knows what option A and option B is because she does a lot of classes for people, but we're way ahead of the game when it comes to spending the money under option A and option B, that money that we will be receiving for the next 18 years. And I want to personally thank her for her work.
Thank you, Commissioner Carson. Any other question or comment? All right. Thank you very much again, and this item will remain on the decision agenda.
All right, thank you. And while I have your ear for a second, I want to thank Kay for sending out the information for our event on May 29th. We'll have our community forum from 5 to 6 that day. We're inviting all of the municipalities to come and participate in that, and that evening we will have our larger community forum with Dr. Gupta and A.G. Stein.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, this brings us now to item 7, reports. I ask you to submit any of the reports that you have to the clerk as soon as you can for inclusion in our agenda package for our regular meeting. A number of reminders I will mention today. May the 8th, again, that's tomorrow evening at the Innovation Transfer public meeting that we spoke of earlier at the Ridgeview Branch Library in Hickory at 5:30 p.m. May 21st, our regular meeting at 6 p.m. here in this room. Remind you that May the 27th, our county offices, landfills, and convenience sites will be closed in observance of Memorial Day. Then May 29th, as Dr. Barnardo just mentioned, our opioid settlement meeting and community forum to be held at the Comma. That begins at 5 with a community annual opioid settlement community meeting. And then from 6 to 7, there'll be reception with refreshments, and then 7 to 8:30, community forum with Dr. Gupta and Attorney General Stein. Then youth groups interested in leading the pledge, again, would ask for folks who might be interested in helping us lead the pledge at our regular monthly meeting. Please visit our website and sign up to help with that if you have a group that would like to come and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Remind you to spay and neuter your pets, foster and adopt pets at our Animal Services Center. And also back to litter, one of our subjects, cover your loads going to the convenience centers, pick up trash around when you're out and about, and just simply don't litter. And there's also a mechanism there under community beautification to report areas that need to be cleaned up on our website at burkenc.org. Item number 8, I would like to take just a moment today to recognize National Correction Officers and Correctional Employees Week and Public Service Week. These guys at our detention centers and correction centers here in our county and all across the state and the nation for that matter provide a tremendous service for us all the time. And we want to recognize them and appreciate them during this special week that has been given for recognition of their service. And as on behalf of the board, certainly want to note our appreciation, particularly for our county detention officers and those that work in this arena every day. It's not always a glamorous task, and they work very hard at it. We certainly appreciate what they do every day. Item number 9, we've already covered that, to move it forward, the action item, and taken care of that. That only leaves us one last lonely item.
Mr. Chairman, before you get that, I'd like to go back and discuss the IBT meeting tomorrow night. They're going to have it, obviously, at Ridgeview Library in Hickory, which there's no parking and there's no room. And I just can't see that we need to go. I think the county manager is going to go. Am I correct? So I'm going to encourage the county manager as soon as you're able to get a report to the 5 of us of what occurred at that meeting, because are you planning on trying to speak?
I think that's dependent upon the volume of other speakers. But ideally, I would like to recognize that this board has passed a resolution, and that certainly our region, being represented primarily through our Council of Government, sees this as a bad thing for Western North Carolina and the Catawba River Basin.
I'm still concerned that Duke Energy hasn't said a whole lot about this at all. They've been very, very quiet. Have you heard anything from Duke?
Jeff Lineberger, who's the top water resource manager for Duke, will be speaking next Monday, the 13th at 9:30 at the Council of Government building there. I think it's in Longview. So I have only heard their position is neutral, but I do not know to the extent of what they think, and I'm excited to hear what Jeff has to say, because I agree their position matters.
I don't think they want to get in a fight with Charlotte.
One could say it's their largest customer, and that probably has some bearing. Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, if that's okay with you, for the county manager to represent us, and then ask him to give us a report when that's complete, okay?
Absolutely, and I will just note that local governments through the COG and others presented our dissatisfaction with that location, that knowing that it was going to be too small, and Charlotte-Mecklenburg was not willing to make a change in that venue. So that may be by design, I don't know. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I thought you might be interested to know that representatives from Morganton and Valdez do plan to attend tomorrow night's meeting.
Yes, and I attended the COG meeting earlier this week, and I feel rather certain that most all of the COG members will be there and represented and present their dissatisfaction with this request. Okay? With that, gentlemen, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr.
That we
Smith.
adjourn.
All those in favor, signify by up to today. That's 4-0. Thank you very much.